it is Hera, and welcome to Healthy and Happy with Hera to discover the bright side of life. Are you searching for inspiration? This is the right place to be. Together, we will be looking for the key to happiness and those elements that make our everyday life more exciting. Let me introduce myself. I consider myself multidimensional. I am a healthcare professional. I manage well-being programs addressed to thousands of people and also model with international titles, including Face of the World 2019. I have lived in 4 different countries, including Sweden and UK, and I want to share the mindsets or lessons of my experience, but also the mindsets of other inspirational people trying to find out what leads to happiness. In today's show, we will be talking about happiness, first of all, the way that we will approach it and how we'll find it out. But also, we will be talking about a topic that has been discussed massively in the last months. Novel coronavirus or COVID-19. How serious is it? Should we start to panic? You will learn everything that you need to know in a few minutes. Also, do you wash your hands in the right way? According to a study, it seems like only 5% of people properly wash their hands. We'll discuss more later on. In addition, I want to give this show value and help you provide an important information or different mindset in your life. Taking this into consideration, if you have any suggestions or topics that you would like to learn more, contact me please on Instagram. You will see it in the end below, but it is Hera's word. So, first things first. What is happiness? Let's define it in order to understand what we are trying to achieve. According to Wikipedia, the term happiness is used in the context of mental or emotional states, including positive or pleasant emotions, ranging from contentment to intense joy. It is also used in the context of life satisfaction, subjective well-being, eudaimonia, flourishing, and well-being. In other words, happiness is subjective and is also vitally linked to health and well-being, which includes not only physical but also mental status. Consequently, we'll be talking about topics that I consider that the general public should be educated on, but also mindsets that will help you go one step closer to happiness. So, all we want is to be happy, right? How easy is this to be achieved actually? Well, it can be achieved in our everyday life, but we also need to manage our own expectations about happiness. Let me tell you a story, because we need to realize something very important for me actually. When we were little kids, our parents used to tell us fairy tales. You have Snow White, you have Cinderella, etc. All those stories ending with, they lived happily ever after. It is almost like we have the same mindset for happiness. We think, I will achieve this goal and then I will be happy. I will finish university and then I will be happy. I will get married and then I will get happy. I will have children and then I will be happy. Even your social environment may guide you towards those directions, even without realizing it. You may have your parents or your friends asking you the whole time, when are you getting married? Because I want you to be happy. Does this mean that as soon as you get married, you will be happy forever? How many divorces are out there? Not saying that you will not, but we need to consider many things. So are some of all of those familiar to you? I used to think at the same way, that when I will achieve this goal, I will be happy. Especially as a teenager, when I had to achieve difficult targets, pass exams, go through stressful situations, etc. When we think that in this way, it is like always waiting to achieve a future goal. But ultimately, when we achieve that goal, we will put another one and another one, postponing happiness always in the future, thinking that after that period, or when we achieve what we want, we'll be happy. I'm sure that you have listened many times that we need to live the present situations in the maximum, take advantage of them and try to find happiness in those moments. I completely agree with this, and I actually want to take this one step further and reinforce it by making us realize something very, very important to me. There is not a specific point in the future after achieving a personal or professional target that we will be happy. I repeat it. There is not a specific point in the future after achieving a personal or professional target that will be happy. To me, this message is very powerful because what I want us to realize is two things. First, this is not a negative comment saying that you will not be happy in the future. On the contrary, don't wait for that future point that you want to achieve, but live happily right now, in the present, and remind yourself how lucky you are to have in your life everything that you appreciate. 2. Happiness is a constant effort to achieve it. I repeat it. Happiness is a constant effort to achieve it, which means that even if you achieve the target or goal that you had in your mind, you will still have to put an effort to maintain it at the level that you want, because otherwise the balance or situation may change anytime. This applies to everything in life. You may finally have achieved to get that degree, but then you will have to fight actually to get a job related to that, right? You may finally have found the love of your life and got married, but guess what? You have to constantly work in that relationship in order to show to that person that you care, to dedicate time for that person, to live common experiences, and to keep that person for a lifetime. Consequently, do not wait for that moment in the future, because if you're constantly waiting for that moment, you will never be happy, and you do not want that, right? Start living now and be happy every day. Happiness is a state of mind. We'll be talking about different mindsets in the future shows, but now let's move on to the next topic. As I said before, it's a topic that we'll be discussing every day. There's no single person that I don't hear being scared for novel coronavirus or COVID-19. If you want to learn the latest news and what you should do regarding the coronavirus, which the World Health Organization has declared as a public health emergency of international concern, please keep watching. I know that you're aware of coronavirus, as I said before, because it has affected the whole world, and it's a concern for all leaders of countries and healthcare professionals in order to stop it, but also the public because of fears of danger. Some people have even started feeling panicked about this. You may notice empty supermarkets in your area, etc. So today we will try to put coronavirus in its right dimension, learning basic information about it, but also if it is something that we should be too concerned. To me, this is a case of another example that proves how much all the countries are interconnected with each other, and what happens to the one side of the world can affect the other side of the world, the whole planet. The coronavirus epidemic poses an exceptionally serious global problem. In a few weeks, it has spread from China to more than 80 countries. We'll have a look at some more statistics here later on, which will help us actually understand the situation better. But now, let's begin with the basic information. The World Health Organization has published very helpful videos about coronavirus. Let's have a look and then we'll discuss it further.
Get their name. There are different types of coronaviruses that cause respiratory and sometimes gastrointestinal symptoms. Respiratory disease can range from the common cold to pneumonia, and in most people, the symptoms tend to be mild. However, there are some types of coronaviruses that can cause severe disease. These include the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, first identified in China in 2003, and the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus that was first identified in Saudi Arabia in 2012. The 2019 novel coronavirus was first identified in China. It initially occurred in a group of people with pneumonia who'd been associated with a seafood and live animal market in the city of Wuhan. The disease has since spread from those who were sick to others, including family members and healthcare staff. There are many cases at present, and the disease has spread within China and also to a number of other countries. So, where did the virus come from? It's known that coronaviruses circulate in a range of animals. Sometimes these viruses can make the jump from animals to humans. This is called a spillover and could be due to a range of factors such as mutations in the virus or increased contact between humans and animals. For example, MERS-CoV is known to be transmitted from camels and SARS-CoV from civet cats. The animal reservoir of the 2019 novel coronavirus is not known yet. How is it transmitted? The exact dynamics of how the virus is transmitted is yet to be determined. In general, respiratory viruses are usually transmitted through droplets created when an infected person coughs or sneezes, or through something that has been contaminated with the virus. People most at risk of infection from the novel coronavirus are those in close contact with animals, such as live animal market workers, and those who are caring for people infected with the virus, such as family members or healthcare workers. So, how does the disease present? Well, from what is known so far, there can be a number of symptoms ranging from mild to severe. There can be fever and respiratory symptoms such as cough and shortness of breath. In more severe cases, there's been pneumonia, kidney failure, and death. The mortality rate is not known yet. How can we tell whether someone is infected? The infection can be diagnosed by a test called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. This test identifies the virus based on its genetic fingerprint. There's currently no specific medication for the virus, and treatment is supportive care. There's currently no vaccine to protect against the virus. Treatment and vaccines are in development. How do we prevent transmission of the virus? This new virus currently has a limited geographic spread. However, there are a number of standard hygiene practices that have been recommended to protect against infection and further spread. These include covering your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing with a medical mask, tissue, or flexed elbow, avoiding close...
So, how is coronavirus spread? Let's get a bit in more details. It is spread from one person to another, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can travel approximately 1 meter and can land on people who are nearby or on surfaces. So, what can you do and how can you avoid catching the spreading coronavirus? NHS UK gives the following recommendations. First of all, we'll say what you should do and that you should keep into consideration and remember. So first of all, wash your hands with soap and water often, and this should last for 20 seconds. Always wash your hands when you get home or into work. Use a hand sanitizer, can be like a gel if a soap and water are not available. And it's really important to remember to cover your mouth and nose with a tissue or your sleeves, not your hands, when you cough or sneeze. And also, put used tissues in the bin straight away and wash your hands afterwards. Try to avoid very close contact with people who are unwell, of course. And remember, do not touch your eyes, nose or mouth if your hands are not clean. So you may be wondering, how we're going with the coronavirus at the moment, if there are any treatments or any medications or vaccines that we could use. Well, unfortunately for the moment, there is currently no specific treatment for the coronavirus. Antibiotics do not help as they do not work against viruses, and treatment most of the times aims to relieve the symptoms while your body fights the illness. Well, you will need also to stay in isolation from other people if you are not well and you have not recovered yet. So you may be wondering, you may have booked a flight, you may need to go somewhere and you really don't know if you should go or not. I've heard many people cancelling the flights and actually being very afraid to go to another country. So what do you need to do if you have arranged to travel? First of all, note that the situation is constantly changing. So recommendations that may apply today may not apply tomorrow. This may have to do with instructions about the affected countries and high-risk ones, and if you should return to work after traveling somewhere or not, etc. So you will always need to double check. The best advice is to be up to date about the latest recommendations before you travel. But also when you're returning back, you need to check if there are any changes in those recommendations. So depending on the country you live, please ensure that you will get informed via formal sources. So what do you need to do if you suspect that you may have coronavirus? That's a tricky one, right? Because many people may turn to emergency department and just go there. But is that the right thing to do? Well, remember first that, as discussed above, depending on where you live, make sure that you get informed about the public health recommendations or instructions of your country, as this is very important. It is crucial to avoid contact with other people or to do it under the right circumstances. So if you live in England, there are being daily updates at the government UK website, and also you can find a lot of information at the NHS UK/coronavirus for information about the virus and how to protect yourself. So according to those recommendations, if you suspect that you may have coronavirus, check if you need medical help by either calling 111 or by using NHS 111 online coronavirus service. That can tell you if you need medical help and advise you what to do. Very important to remember. Do not go to a GP surgery, pharmacy or hospital. Call 111 if you need to speak to someone. It's very important because you need to avoid contact with other people. So, is coronavirus something that we should be too concerned? Coronavirus has infected globally more than 100,000 people so far and caused more than 3,400 deaths, which is like 3% of affected people. So the latest coronavirus updates, up to date, like this week, we had confirmed cases 101,800 confirmed cases, deaths 3,460, and as you can see, and as I said before, the percentage is around 3%. So what I want to highlight is the comparison between the coronavirus or COVID-19 and the seasonal flu. According to WHO, up to 650,000 people die of respiratory diseases linked to seasonal flu each year. So basically, it's much more people that die from flu annually than from coronavirus. The Guardian recently published an article about coronavirus stating exactly what I had in my mind. Yes, obviously this virus is a massive challenge. It's a medical, political, social and economic challenge. But it is worth remembering that the world has never had better tools to fight it, and that if we are infected, we're likely to die from it. So people, yes, be careful, but relax and don't panic. To be considered a high risk of catching the coronavirus, you need to live with or have direct physical contact with someone infected, or be caught or sneezed on by them, like face to face, to have face-to-face contact and actually be within 1 or 2 meters. So for more than 15 minutes. We're not talking about passing someone in the street. So generally speaking, coronavirus can cause more severe symptoms in people with weakened immune systems, older people and those with long-term conditions like diabetes, cancer and chronic lung disease. So not everybody should be too afraid of it. In most cases, symptoms are mild and young people are at a very low risk. According to a study of 45,000 confirmed infections in China, 81% of cases caused only minor illness, and just 5% were considered critical, with about half of those resulting in death. Children seem barely affected by the virus, and mortality rate for the under 40s is about 0.2%. The rate rises for people that are over 65, and especially for the ones that have pre-existing heart or lung conditions. Calculating mortality at the moment is a bit difficult because it's an ongoing situation, but approximately at the moment is calculated to 1.5%. So the good news is that people are recovering from it. Thousands of people around the world are making confirmed recoveries from the coronavirus every day. Now that you know everything about coronavirus and everything that you needed to know, let's move on to the next subject. This topic is a must-watch one, because for me it is the #1 action that I would like to educate people, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is. You listen very often, wash your hands, and even more so those last months, right? Or if you have visited the hospital, you will probably see big posters about it. So washing your hands properly removes dirt, viruses, bacteria, in order to stop them spreading around to other people and objects, which can spread illnesses such as food poisoning, flu or diarrhea, and this is why it is so important. So you're advised to wash your hands frequently, but do you actually know how to wash them in the right way? Well, according to a study done by Michigan State University, it seems like only 5% of people properly wash their hands. Wow, that's very low. You may think that sloppily rubbing your palms against each other for 5 seconds could count as a proper hand washing, but this is far away from the truth. If you would see your hands after washing them under a specific light, you would realize that there are specific areas that are not washed, especially on the areas that are around the nails. So how should you wash your hands? Have a look at the following video, and then we will discuss some extra more important steps that you should remember. So you should consider washing your hands in this way at least when you have been out and returning home. Remember to cover all of the surfaces, rubbing your hands together. And remember, clean your palms, the back of your hands, between the fingers, the back of your fingers, the thumbs, the tides of your fingers. So rinse your hands well with water and dry your hands completely with a disposable towel. Now, if you don't have a disposable towel available, well, you will need to improvise. Maybe using your elbow or another part of your hand that you will not bring in contact with your food or mouth. We don't need to worry about that part for taps that turn on automatically. So of course, those are my favorites. However, there is another part that we'll need to remember. When you use the public toilets, you have washed your hands, and then what do? Well, you go and open the door and want to leave from that room, right? There is one small problem there. According to the study done by Michigan State University, only 36% of men and 61% of women wash their hands after using the bathroom, which in practice means that the surface is not clean either. So what do you do in this case? You would again use the same disposable towel to open the door and then dispose it. So I love the places that have a rubbish bin close to the door. Otherwise, you will need to improvise again. So, however, if you do not have an immediate access to soap and after treating a cut or a wound. And also it's important for people that have animals in their house, like pets, after touching animals, and or maybe even their food and after cleaning their cages. Well, that is what we have time for today. If you have any suggestions of topics that you would like us to discuss in the future shows, if you want to comment on any of those ones, if you found the information helpful or not, please contact me on my Instagram. It is Hera's Word. I will be really happy to start that communication with you and actually see what do you like more and what not, and what do you think that can be more helpful for you and what not. So for more tips on how to live a healthy and happy life, join me next week, same day and same time. See you soon. Bye.